Hi guys, it is April from Getting Hooga With It. Today we're doing another round of Konmari with me. I am decluttering my bookshelves. Let's get into it. So if you don't know, I have been decluttering my bookshelves and it feels good because my bookshelves have been looking really bad. Double stacked in a messy kind of way where I go to my shelves and I just feel, ugh. And I don't want that. I don't want that for myself or for my books, my beloved books. So I'm decluttering. And I'm decluttering the Konmari way. So it's Konmari method basically, where you only keep things that spark joy. And I'm applying that to my books, including books I haven't read. Some of them I've read, some of them I haven't read. But I want my bookshelves to feel good. So today we're doing thrillers. This is the last thriller shelf that we're going to be doing. Thrillers, horrors, last one, which feels really good. That means I've gotten through a lot of them. And basically I've got a couple of rules for myself, otherwise I just keep everything. The first is I need to dwindle it down to 20 books. There can only be 20 books on the shelf. If it's less, that's even better. That's ideal. I can also put 2 books on my limbo shelf. And this is for books that I'm just really quite not sure what I want to do with them. I don't feel like getting rid of them. I don't feel like reading them the second. So I can put them on my limbo shelf. And if I, for some reason, go over 20 books and I'm like at 21 and I'm like, I gotta have them all, I gotta go over to my limbo shelf and get rid of one there to like balance it out essentially. So I have 25 books. I really only need to get rid of 5, which should be good, but you never know how these things will go. So let us begin. First up is The Quick by Lauren Owen. This is actually historical fiction meets thriller. So I've put it in the thriller category. It takes place in London in 1892, and we follow a poet named James who moves to London, leaving his sister behind, and he becomes close to a young aristocrat who like brings him through London and introduces him to high society until one day he disappears, and his sister Charlotte decides she needs to go and find out what happened to him. Is he still alive? What's going on? And it all links back to the Aglias Club, whose members include the most ambitious and most dangerous men in England. It sounds very interesting. This is a beast of a book. It's over 400 pages. It's got tons of blurbs on the back from people like Kate Atkinson, oh God, who says it's a suspenseful, gloriously atmospheric first novel and a feast of gothic storytelling that is impossible to resist. I love Kate Atkinson. What do I do with this? Okay, obviously I'm going to put it on the limbo pile. Straight away, limbo is the beginning. I just need to think on it. It does sound interesting. And Kate says good things about it, as well as Tana French and Hilary Mantel. We'll see. Next up is House on Fire by Bonnie Kistler. This was a book that was sent to me by a publisher unsolicited, and it's about a couple who have children but not together. It's like a blended family, and one day one of the kids kills the other by accident. And it is about the dynamics in that family and everything. I don't want to read this. It sounds domestic thrillery. That just doesn't do anything for me. So I'm going to let this go. The Homecoming by Andrew Piper. This is another one that was sent to me unsolicited by a publisher. And this is about a family who finds out that their father has died, like in the rainforest. So they have to go to this place where he had died, and they have to go there to read the will, and the will has very strict instructions. In order to claim their inheritance, they must remain at the estate for 30 days without any contact with the outside world. So they stay, and they're wondering why they're being driven there and what is it that they feel is pulling them out into the dark heart of the woods. I am also not sure about this one. It's a little intriguing to me, but I'm not totally sold. So I'm going to put this on the limbo pile as well. Mystic River is up next by Dennis Lehane. This is about children, 3 boys. A stranger pulls up on the side of the road, and one of the boys gets in the car. The other 2 do not. And what happens changes their lives forever. And then it follows them 25 years later. It just sounds really interesting. One of them is a detective then. And I know that this was turned into a movie, which I'm also curious about watching. I think I'm going to keep this one because I really love Dennis Lehane and I think I'll enjoy this book. Okay, I've got 2 Karen Slaughters. They're part of the Grant County series. I've got Blindsided and I've got Kiss Cut. This is book 1 and 2. Yes, it's a detective series, but I have high hopes that I'm going to like a detective series finally. So I am going to keep both of these. Next is The Night Sister by Jennifer Macmahon. This sounds a bit ghosty, which is fantastic. This is about 3 girls who are very close, but something from Amy's family's past comes up and ruins that friendship. So basically the little group splits up. We've got Piper and Margot who've like moved on together, and then Amy goes off on her own. They find out many years later as adults that Amy and her family are dead, supposedly killed by Amy's own hand. Before she died, Amy scrawled a message that the 2 sisters know was meant for them, and it says 29 rooms. Yes, I'm keeping it. So creepy. Gotta have it. Ring. And it is That Ring, with Naomi Watts or whatever. I think that's her name. I gotta keep this. This is the book that inspired the movie. I think I have the second one here as well. I have not read this, but I really want to. And if I like this, I gotta read the second one, so it's staying. Dead Girls was a fantastic thriller that I read last year about 2 girls who are young. One of the girls is killed, and the best friend who's left behind decides that she is going to seek revenge against the killer, which I loved. I loved her fight and her loyalty to her friend even beyond the grave. I just loved it. This is staying on my shelves for sure. The Cabin at the End of the World, Paul Tremblay. What a fun horror book in the most gruesome kind of way. Like, this is not for the faint of heart. This is about a family who go to this cottage. They're renting a cottage. Strangers come up the lane saying, "We need your help to save the world." And they're breaking into the cottage. Terrifying, terrifying. This is like home invasion nightmares. Keeping it. Oh, I read this last year and loved it too. The Little Stranger is a horror book about a haunted house. That was terrifying. It takes place post-war, and there is a family that was very elite once upon a time, but now they don't have a lot of money, and the house is kind of run down, and this doctor is called to take care of one of the servants. I think it's the only servant, and he has memories of the hall because his mom used to work there. And it is, yes, about this haunting. It's also about upper class versus the rise of the middle class at this time and their relationships together. And I would get so obsessed with the characters that I'd forget that it was also a haunted house story. And then something scary would happen that would terrify me because it was always coming out of nowhere to me. The book, by the way, is way better than the movie. The movie was fine, but I think you can't really turn this into a movie and get just all of the feels, if that makes any sense. Anyway, all that to say, I'm keeping it. Now, The Hypnotist by Lars Kepler can go because I got another copy of this. This has a different translator than the new translator. Apparently the new translator is fantastic, so I can totally let this go now, which is good. Forgotten Girls is a part of a series, like a detective series. I just don't think I want to bother, if I'm being perfectly honest. I think this is in the middle of a series too, so I'm just gonna let it go. No One Knows by J.T. Ellison is about a husband who is declared dead and the wife is missing him, and doesn't this sound like something we've read before? I just don't need this in my life. It's also a domestic thriller, and I'm just realizing it's just not my thing, so I'm gonna let this go. Strangers on a Train by Patricia Highsmith is a classic. Now, I started this a while back and I never finished it, and I don't know why. I'm going to keep this because it is a classic, and I should read this at some point in my life. I just don't know why I didn't finish it in the first place. So we'll see, but I'm going to keep it. Waste is another book that was sent to me by a publisher unsolicited. This takes place in Ontario. These two people hit a lion. They both get like step away from the accident unharmed. But it was a bizarre incident. Like, obviously there would never be a lion in Canada unless it ran away from a zoo or something. I don't know, but this just doesn't, there's nothing about this that really sounds good to me, so I'm gonna let this go. Darkansas is another book sent to me by the same publisher. It's Southern Gothic, I think. This is about a country musician living in the shadow of his father. When he returns home for his twin brother's wedding, he discovers a curse that haunted the Bain family for generations. Well, it doesn't, no, I'm gonna get rid of it. It doesn't sound like me. Or like something I'd like. Kill Creek, on the other hand, I am 100% keeping. This is about a group of horror writers who are brought to a haunted house overnight. I can't remember if it's many nights they need to stay there or just one. Oh, they're invited to spend Halloween night there. Anyway, and then really creepy things start to happen. And I think this is just an ode to the horror genre, and I just have to read this, so I'm keeping this. Her Pretty Face is another book I'd like to keep. This is about two women who have their kids in the same school. Now, one of them, Frances, is really struggling. She is completely ostracized by the other women. They don't want to be friends with her. She does meet one woman who is very kind, Kate Randolph, and they become really close friends. However, one of them is completely lying. Her real name is Amber Kunick, and she's a murderer, and it unravels from there. It sounds like so much fun. Next up is The Ex's Revenge by Joe Jakeman. This was also sent to me by publishers unsolicited, but it sounds fantastic. This is about a marriage that goes terribly wrong. They're married with a son, and then the father just says, you know, I'm not interested in you anymore. I want a divorce. You gotta move out in like, I don't know how many days. Or he'll sue for sole custody. And the wife's reaction is terror and also rage. And she locks him in the basement. And she keeps him there for a while. I need this in my life. I gotta keep it. Next is Those Girls by Chevy Stevens. This is about a group of sisters. I think there are 3 of them. They have a very eventful summer that spirals completely out of control and makes them go on the run. And it's many years later, 18 years later, they're still trying to forget what happened that summer. But one of the sisters goes missing, and then the niece also goes missing. And they know they need to, like, they can't run anymore. They need to sort things out. And I would like to know what happened. Like, this does give me some Karen Slaughter vibes, which I'm hoping is what is going to happen here. So we shall see. I'm keeping it. Next is The Boy Who Drew Monsters by Keith Donahue. And this is about a little boy who had a near-death experience, and ever since then, he's been drawing monsters. And ever since then, his mom is hearing strange noises outside her window at night. And ever since then, things are creepy as all hell. I am not sure what I want to do with this. The premise sounds good. I don't know if this has amazing reviews. I think my mom read it and just felt about it. So I'm gonna put it on the limbo shelf and figure out where it should land in the end. Ooh, Spiral is the sequel to The Ring, so I have to keep that one. Second Life is another psychological thriller. I don't know much about it. It says it's a psychological thriller about a woman with a secret identity that threatens to destroy her. Here's the little blurb in the front. There's not a lot. She loves her husband. She's obsessed by a stranger. She's a devoted mother. She's prepared to lose everything. She knows what she's doing. She's out of control. She's innocent. She's guilty as sin. She's living two lives. She may lose both. I just need to know what this is about. I need this in my life, and it's not going anywhere. Finally, Looker by Laura Sims is another book that was sent to me unsolicited by publisher. This is about a woman who has a very difficult life. There is a neighbor that she has on the street who's an actress who seems to have everything in life, and she becomes kind of attached to her. I have kind of read the story before. I'm going to let this go only because of people's reviews of this. I think I hauled this and people didn't have the best things to say about it in the comments. So I'm just going to let it go because it just doesn't, it's not something I desperately need to read. So I'm going to let that go. So guys, I have 7 books that I am completely unhauling. So I'm down to like 18 at this point. And then I have to still go through the books for my limbo shelf and either decide to keep one on my normal shelf or get rid of another one. So we're in a good position for this little bookshelf for sure. So The Boy Who Drew Monsters. I think I've decided to keep this. I just opened to a random page and there was a section where this woman walks into a bookstore and hears knocking, and she's asking people around her, like, did you hear that knocking sound? And they don't, which makes me think of possession. So I want to keep it now. So I'm keeping that. And I think that will leave me with 2 for my limbo shelf. We've got The Quick and we've got The Homecoming. So these will go over to my limbo shelf. We'll see what happens to them in the end. And that's it. I did so well. This is the best series. I'm so glad that I'm doing this series. Like, as it goes along, because I've done quite a few, it's just feeling really good. I hope that you guys are doing well. Let me know in the comments below if there are some that I got rid of that you wish I had kept. They're already gone by the time you're seeing this, but I'm always curious what your thoughts are. So I'll talk to you soon. Bye, guys.